Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking Philly Sports with Matty B program here on the edgeofphillysports.com or Edge of Philly Sports, however it is you remember it or know it, with your boy Matty B, aka Matt Benarchek. It is Tuesday, August the 16th, 2022, and I hope the heck that your sports week is going well, and I hope everything else in your life finds you well as well. I'm me personally dealing with a little bit of a summer thing going on here. I don't know if it's the flu or cold. I don't know what it is, but it's got me kind of wrapped up last couple of days. So I've been kind of dealing with that. But everything else is fine. And I know everything else in the sports world seems to be as normal and no stories here to look at. That were only the case. Of course, there's a lot of stuff going on here in Philadelphia. A lot of stuff that's kind of wrapped around our axles, kind of stuff that's kind of in our ears, so to speak. And tonight we're going to spend some time talking about it, but we're also going to spend some time off topic, talking about something not technically related with what's happening today in Philadelphia sports, but what's kind of on my mind because that's my dime. It's my show. You're here with me, and I'm here with you. And for the next X amount of time we're going to spend together, let's have some fun, shall we? So we're going to start things off like we start every episode off, and that is take a look at a date today in Philadelphia sports history. And we got two things to talk about tonight. We're going to start way back in 2013 on this date in 2013. You guys know what happened? It was Phillies related. Charlie Manuel was fired. The end was nigh, obviously, as Charlie was the, I guess, the last brick to fall in the rebuild or the last brick to fall in the wall that was the Philly dominance of that period. And Ryan Sandberg stepped in as interim manager. Obviously, Ryan would go on to be the actual manager and end very unceremoniously, as he was probably one of, not the worst manager ever to don the red pinstripes for the Phillies. I remember back then it was such a great idea, Ryan Sandberg, Hall of Fame player, but he wasn't a Hall of Fame player for us. He was a Hall of Fame player for the Cubs, and only just because he came up through the Phillies system and whatnot didn't really equate in my mind to a great Philly. He didn't give a damn about the Phillies. He didn't give a damn about the organization. He cared about himself. He was selfish, and when the going got tough, boy, he certainly got going right on out of town. So happy Charlie Manuel got fired. Ryan Sandberg becomes interim manager of the Phillies day. And also back on this date in 2016, Chase Utley returned to Citizen Bank Park as a Dodger for the first time, and he does it in an extremely Chase Utley way. 2 home runs as he returns to Philadelphia, helped pave the way to a 15-5 Dodger victory. Obviously, the Phillies were something different in 2016 than they were when Chase Utley left. So Chase Utley returned to Philadelphia on this date in 2016, and he hit 2 home runs for the Dodgers. So happy Chase Utley returns to Philadelphia day, and happy Ryan Sandberg takes over as the Philly interim manager day way back in 2013 and 16, respectively. And that is your day in Philadelphia sports history. So, folks, let's get right in on topics tonight. Now, I'm going to kind of avoid the obvious, as you can see back behind my right shoulder. Yeah, I'm watching the Phillies game. I'm tracking what's going on, and there's a lot to talk about there. And we'll get into some of that here tonight, but mostly don't forget, right after this show is the Fighting's Final. When the Philly show goes final, the Fighting's Final will follow that. It's the best in Philadelphia Philly post-game coverage that you'll find this side of the Western Hemisphere, hosted by yours truly. So make sure you're looking out for that here coming up as soon as this game goes final. But what I wanted to talk about, and when I was researching this day in Philadelphia sports history, Chase Utley was obviously one of the topics that I came across. And then as I saw his name, I began to think about that era of Phillies baseball and how a lot of people who were a little younger than me really are kind of galvanized by that era. The Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins, 07 to 11 Phillies. And I remember thinking to myself, and it actually dawned on me like a lightning bolt today. I don't know why this happened to me, but it did. I feel the same way, but about the 1980s Phillies. Schmidt, Rose, say what you want, Luzinski, McBride, Manny Trio, Bob Boone. I mean, that was my galvanization of the Phillies back then. And and I'm glad it ties in. I'm very glad it ties in with a different generation. And we need those types of Phillies teams generationally, right? To kind of keep this thing going and keep fans coming in and being part of what's so great about Phillies baseball. But when I was thinking about Rollins, Howard, and Utley specifically, I was thinking to myself, when are these guys going to get their due by the organization? Each one of them is retired, long since retired from baseball. And, you know, Wall of Fame honors. Now, I got it. There's a kind of maybe, I guess, a precedent, a list, a pecking order. They gotta honor some people before they get to the kind of the most recent Phillies. But Wall of Fame, and more specifically, when are they going to get honored as far as numbers retired? We all know no one's worn 11, no one's worn 6, and no one's worn 26 since those three individuals have retired. And I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. And there's going to be a debate, and already has been a debate, on whether or not all three deserve that honor by the Phillies. And I'm sure we could debate that for 3-4 hours, and everybody else would come, and people would come out on different sides of a coin. I specifically think 2 out of the 3 deserve to be retired. Jimmy Rollins and Chase Utley. Chase Utley, beyond the shadow of a doubt. Jimmy Rollins, absolutely. Ryan Howard's a little bit more cloudy for me. I would need a little bit more convincing to retire his number. But as far as Wall of Fame, all 3 of them are shoo-ins. But then I started to kind of think, well, when would be an appropriate time for the Phillies to bestow that honor? No player has worn those numbers since these guys have left town. No players will wear those numbers for the foreseeable future. So I'm thinking, what's the holdup? What's the wait? Why would the Phillies want to wait and see? Or why? Why haven't we bestowed the honor on them? Mike Schmidt's number was retired literally 1 year after he stepped out of baseball. You know, boom, got it. A little different situation there. Greatest player in franchise history and all. But, you know, Chase Utley's been out of the game for a while now. Ryan Howard's been out of the game for a while now. And Jimmy Rollins has been out of the game for a little while now. Matter of fact, all 2 of them, Howard and Rollins, have already appeared on Hall of Fame ballots. Utley will not be eligible through 2024, but the other 2 have already appeared on Hall of Fame ballots. So what is the holdup, and why are the Phillies not going forth with any kind of honors on this team? So I did some research and I looked it up. And did you guys know this? And maybe I'm late to the party on this, but did you know that part of the criteria for your number to be retired by the Phillies is that you got to be in the Hall of Fame? Not the Wall of Fame. I mean Cooperstown. You got to be in Cooperstown in order for the Phillies to retire your number, or in Mike Schmidt's case, a lock. You know, and that's why they did it 1 year after he retired, because there's no way he was not going to Cooperstown. But that is a criteria for the Phillies in order to retire your number. You have to be in the Hall of Fame. Now, I don't know if that's. I'm asking this question to everybody out there. Does that make any sense to you? Who the hell cares whether or not they're in the Hall of Fame? How does that correlate to what they did for the franchise that they played for? What does that have anything to do with anything? Rollins, Howard, and Utley are probably, when you think of the great eras of Phillies baseball, you think Schmidt, Rose, Boa, you think Rollins, Howard, Utley, you think Bunning, Ashburn, you think those individuals during those time frames. Those are synonymous names and faces with Phillies excellence. So what does their admission into Cooperstown got shit to Shinola to do with anything? So I think that was, and that kind of blew me away to read that today, to see that part of the criteria for the Phillies to retire your number is you have to be in Cooperstown. You have to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame in order to have your number retired by the Phillies. I don't see how that has anything to do with anything. But that is what they do. Anyway, so the question I have for you, and I'm going to present this to you in one straight up way, okay? When we look at these 3 players, Rollins, Utley, and Howard, and by the way, each one of them synonymous with the greatest period of Phillies baseball history. Now, the 76 to 83 Phillies might have something to say about that, but no other moment in Phillies history can touch what happened between 2007 and 2011. It's just not there. It's not there in black and white. It's not there in paper. It's not there with the trophies or the flags. It was the most fruitful time in Phillies history. And when you think of that time, as I mentioned, you think of Hollins, Utley, and Rollins and Howard. You think of those three. Those were the faces of that franchise. Those were the faces of that time period. Those are the faces of that excellence. So if we're looking at all three of them as shoo-ins, and let's just kind of say that all three of them are shoo-ins for the Wall of Fame here in Philadelphia. I mean, I don't think anybody is going to dispute that. All three of them will make the Wall of Fame. But when we look at Cooperstown and we look at the National Baseball Hall of Fame, do all get in? Do any get in? Does two get in? Does one get in? Who gets in? Who gets in? When you stack up Utley against the rest of the second basemen in baseball history, is he Hall of Fame material? Utley's career was cut short by about 5 years because of those knee injuries, those knee issues that he had. If he hadn't had those knee issues, I don't think there would be any question whether or not he was a Hall of Famer. Because of those knee issues, and it slowed down and cut off about 5 years of his career, that might be the reason that he is not, or I don't know his fate yet, because as I said, he's not eligible for the Hall of Fame for another couple of years. But does Utley make the grade as one of the elite second basemen in baseball history? In Philadelphia, he sure as hell does, but does he do it around Major League Baseball? Rollins is a shortstop. You're looking at a multiple Gold Glove winner, MVP, world champion, holder in all kinds of offensive categories for the Phillies. Possibly the greatest Philly shortstop ever to play the game. Does he make the Hall of Fame? Does he stack up against the Ozzie Smiths, the Derek Jeters, the other shortstops that are there? Does Jimmy Rollins stack up against those guys? Ryan Howard, a great power hitter for about 5 or 6, 7 years. But when it went away, boy, it went away hard. And Howard fell off. There was no slow decline with Ryan Howard. It was 0 to 1,000 with him. But when he was on, was there a more dominant power bat in Major League Baseball between the years of 2005 to 2012 or 11? Was there a more dominant power bat in baseball than Ryan Howard? But does he have the staying power? The fact that his career went from 0 to 100 and 100 to 0 so quickly, does that hurt his chances? Ryan Howard, I think, literally, he's got one more shot at to make it next year. Then he's got to be written in. So looking like Ryan Howard probably won't. Jimmy Rollins' first year of eligibility was this year. He didn't make it. And I said Chase Utley, I don't think is eligible to 2024. So out of those three individuals that I mentioned, do all three of them make the Hall of Fame? Are they Hall of Fame players? They are Wall of Fame players, and I think that is understood. But are they Hall of Fame players? And the Phillies' policy about not retiring your number unless you're in Cooperstown, does that make sense to anybody else? Because it doesn't make any sense to me. To me, it means absolutely nothing to do with your importance to an organization of whether or not you're enshrined in Cooperstown. None. So I hope the Phillies change that. I hope they do away with that. Because Rollins, Howard, and Utley should be, regardless of whether or not any of them ever make it to Cooperstown, the next three numbers retired by this franchise. They retired Roy Halladay's number. Roy Halladay pitched, 3-4 years for this team, and he only pitched 3 years that were decent. But he's not. But he passed away, got put in the Hall of Fame, and then they retired his number. I hope the Phillies figure that out, and I hope that they do away with that, because all three of those individuals that I mentioned deserve their numbers on the wall out there in Ashburn Alley. No one should ever wear 6. No one should ever wear 11. And no one should ever wear 26 again for the Philadelphia Phillies. So the Phillies' policy of not retiring people's numbers unless they're in Cooperstown is ridiculous to me. It needs to change, and those three individuals need to get honored soon. Something needs to break with those guys here soon. Either a Wall of Fame or Wall of Fame or number retirement. Something needs to happen with them very soon because it's getting a little old. So there's my Philadelphia Philly kind of rant for the night of the past, I guess. Next thing, let's get into the actual Phillies, shall we, folks? So then we're not going to talk again about the action tonight. As we got into action tonight, the Phillies were 10.5 games out of first place. They'd beaten the Reds last night in non-inspiring fashion, stranding a bunch of runners again, striking out a bunch of times more, not hitting a home run now for the 5th straight game. Now, I saw what happened tonight, but I'm not talking about tonight. I'm talking about up to tonight. The Phillies then, before that, lost 2 out of 3 to the Mets, shut out twice. They took the series from the Marlins that they played last week. They took them in 3, but they got shut out in the final game of that series. So essentially went up to New York and, ran into some really good pitching on Friday and Saturday night in Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom. All right. No one's going to put anything aside from what those two individuals are. They're very good pitchers. But in the case of Scherzer on Friday, the Phillies got to him. They got to him early. They got a run up on the board in the first inning. They were hitting him. They were making contact. I believe they finished the game with 9 hits. They could not get the big hit. They could not knock the game open. They couldn't get the runners in that got on. They were able to kind of pull it together and win a straight up playoff type game Friday night, 2-1 in extra innings. Great game, by the way. Saturday night against deGrom, a whole other story. deGrom was dominant. You guys remember the old Bugs Bunny cartoon where he was a baseball player playing the Gas House Gorillas and they were all standing in a line and Bugs Bunny was pitching and it was 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. 1, 2. That was what Jacob deGrom was on Saturday night against the Phillies. I mean, he was efficient, effective, and lethal. Held the Phillies to like 3 or 4 hits, no runs, and they lost 1-0. And then on Sunday, a multitude of issues occurred with Zach Wheeler in the 4th inning. Once again, not getting runners in, not being able to play defense again. Just a whole bunch of things kind of came to the head on Sunday, and that was the end of the series. Phillies ended up dropping 2 out of 3. And then last night, the Phillies go in very uninspiring fashion. They beat the Reds, but they didn't play a good game. They didn't play a crisp game. They left a bunch of players on base. They struck out a bunch more times, and they ended up winning, luckily, 4-3. But then we got help last night because the Braves whooped that ass on the Mets, like 13-14-1, something like that. And then tonight, the Braves are actually winning again. So the Phillies have an opportunity to pick up another game. We could be 9.5 games out of first place when we lay our heads down tonight to go to sleep. And we got a 4-game set with the Mets looming here in the very near future where we probably will not see deGrom or Scherzer. So the question I have for you all in attendance tonight, and check out some of these comments here. Pat, what's going on, man? How is Cooch on the wall before these guys? Hey, great question, Pat. It's a great question. What is he doing out there, and why isn't those individuals out there? That's a great question. It goes with my point. What is going on? Is there something in store for the 3 of them? Some coup de grace type event that they're going to hold for them? Because you got to start wondering, why aren't they being honored? Will Schwartz play versus New York? I think he will. I definitely think he will. Mets are head to toe better than us. God damn it. So Cowboy Pat, or I'm sorry, the Gobbler, with his Mets stuff. We'll get to that here in a moment, but got off my train of thought. But so the Phillies have an opportunity. They find themselves staring at another opportunity. Heading into this weekend's games, the 4 of them, between the Phillies and the Mets, the Phillies could potentially be down within 8 games, between 7 and 9 games heading into that series. So you take 4 off that total. The Phillies could potentially come out of next weekend 3 to 4 games out of first place. Now, everybody kind of was, and I heard this network, fine network of VOP, kind of talking about the series in retrospect, saying how, well, I didn't expect the Phillies to sweep the Mets. I didn't expect that, but I did expect them to be competitive. Or, you know what, yeah, they lost 2 out of 3, but they really were they hung in there like good little troopers. I don't want to hear that. And yes, I expected the Phillies to sweep the Mets. Totally 100% expected them to sweep the Mets. I did. And I expect them to go in this weekend and sweep the hell out of the Mets, by the way, this weekend. Folks, this weekend, if you don't come down to Citizen Bank Park at some point, Friday, the doubleheader on Saturday or Sunday, then I don't want to know you. I will be there for both games on Saturday. I will be living at Citizen Bank Park on Saturday. If you see me, say, hey, we're gonna bring this party. We're gonna bring the party, man, because you know what? this could be a very interesting weekend here for the Phillies. We've talked about 07. The 07 season was brought up, has been brought up recently. The Phillies were set with 17 games remaining in 2007. They were 7 games out of first place, and they ran the Mets down on the final game of the season, right? A lot of people are talking about that vibe with this team. A lot of people are talking about the 08 vibe. If that is true, let's run this thing down. And the time is now to do that. The time is now to run it down because we're going to run out. This is it. This is our final 4 games with the Mets head-to-head. Now, granted, we have a bunch of baseball left to play, and so do the Mets. So this season's not going to end this weekend. It's also not going to begin. But it could go a long way in really determining whether or not we are a legitimate NL East contender. If we can run them down, sweep them, you heard it here first, sweep them. Boy, this could get really, really interesting. And I think we can. Now, there's a few things that have to happen. Injuries are starting to take their toll on this team. Okay. Obviously, without Schwarber, without Bryce Harper, and now Brandon Marsh going down tonight. And I knew I wasn't going to talk about the present, but yeah, it's got to be mentioned. Brandon Marsh went down tonight. Gene Segura missed significant time. Injuries have really kind of decimated this team. Zach Eflin is down. I mean, the injuries have definitely had their toll on the Phillies this year. But no one cares, all right? Nobody cares. That's why you have a 25-man roster, not a 9-man roster. So the Phillies are going to have to find a way to get back in this thing. And they have the way. The path has been shown to them. The Phillies have an opportunity tonight, as I said. By the time they put their little heads to the pillow this evening, the Phillies could be once again just 9.5 games out of first place. It's top of the 7th right now, and the Mets are still losing 3-0 to the Braves. Phillies are winning their game right now. So as I mentioned, before we put our little heads to bed tonight, Phillies could be once again only 9.5 out first. So I believe. This is a random question. But one player from the 08 team you could bring back for the rest of the season. Oh, come on, man. That's a great question, man. I like that. Chase, you are the man, Utley, all day long. Can you imagine Chase Utley batting? Where would you bat Chase Utley in this lineup right now? That's a great question, by the way. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Where would you bat Chase Utley in this current lineup with a healthy Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber? Where would Chase Utley bat in this line? Would you put him up at 2, 3, 5, maybe? Lead him off potentially? Where would you bat Chase Utley in this lineup if they were healthy? I'd bat him second. But that would be awesome if we could have Chase Utley. That would be my 08 player to have for the rest of the season, would be Chase Utley. Lead off for second. Yeah, I agree. That's a great question. K-Man? That was a great question. Yeah, I bet him lead off for second as well. That was a great question. Great question. So my point with the Phillies is this. As we get kind of churning towards the end of this thing, or it's not even to the end, we're kind of getting into the heat of it. And obviously with the loss, I don't know what the injury to Brandon Marsh is right now. Don't bring back Herrera, please. Let's not go that route. But we got a path. We got a path to this. The NL East is still up for grabs, and the Phillies are now finding out the opportunity could still be there. If things would work out the way I would like them to work out, the Phillies would win tonight, Mets would lose. Phillies would win tomorrow, Mets would lose tomorrow night. So the Phillies would be 8.5 out. Phillies are off Thursday, Mets play Thursday, Mets lose Thursday. Mets become the Philadelphia. Phillies would be 8 games out of first place with 4 at hand. And then by the end of the weekend, we'd be 4 games out of first place. I'd be a very happy camper come next Monday if that was the case. And I think it can happen. Now, the Phillies got to stop striking out on an average of 8 times a game. They got to stop leaving, 4 runners in scoring position every game. They got to stop leaving 7 runners on base every game. But we have a chance. And we have the fate in our own hands because we have head-to-head matchups with this team. Now, we haven't been very successful with the Mets head-to-head. Okay, we blew the season series. It's over. But we have an opportunity. And that opportunity needs to play out this weekend. As Linda points out, too many guys left on base. Absolutely, Linda. That has probably been the most frustrating part of the Phillies season thus far, folks. So I keep stats. I do. The Phillies have left 727 runners on base so far this season. That's just on base. That's not in scoring position. That doesn't have any out kind of correlation. It's just straight 727 runners have been left on base. It works out to about seven runners a game left on base. Now, runners left on base in scoring position, as we know that to be second and third, with 2 outs. The Phillies have left 400 on base. And that works out to about 3.5 a game. So 3.5 runs a game, essentially, the Phillies are leaving on the base paths. Now, if you want to get a little bit more analytic about it, maybe those 3.5 runs, they all don't score. In a perfect world, obviously, they're not all going to score. So we get 2 runners in. So that's 2 runs a game, essentially, the Phillies are leaving on the base paths. 2 runs. That's huge. That's 5, maybe 8 more wins. You got to take advantages of that, folks. You can't be. And then people are going to hit me with the analytic crap. Oh, well, it's that way around the league. And that's correct, because I kept also tally on how many runners that the Phillies have left on the base paths from their opponents. And the Phillies have stranded 698 of their opponents' runners on the base paths this season. So there's something to that. It ain't just the Phillies epically leaving runners on base. It's a MLB thing. But it doesn't make it right. Fundamental baseball is fundamental baseball. It doesn't matter what era you're playing it in. Scoring runs is the same as it was in 1910 as it is in 2022. Okay? And I don't care. I would take any old school baseball team and put them up against the new school kids any day of the week, and I'd love to see how that would pan out. So the Phillies they got to clean some things up, man. They got to clean some things up because those runners left on base. Some of you might not pay attention to that now, but you sure as hell going to pay attention to it in October. You're sure as hell going to pay attention to it in October when the Phillies have second and third with 1 out in the NL Wild Card Series, and it's the 8th inning. You're down 1-0. You can't get any runs home. You're going to definitely know how many runners you left on base in those games. It's a stat that needs to be cleaned up by the Phillies. All right, let's move on now to the Eagles because we got football back, folks. And for those of you who don't know, I am a football guy too. I would like to think that I'm as equally educated in football as I am in baseball, basketball, and hockey as well. I'm a big-time hockey guy. But we got football coming back. The Eagles just came off with their first preseason game of the year. A barn burner up there in New York. I don't even know the score. Was it 24-21, 27-24, something like that? They lost to the Jets. Who cares? It doesn't really matter to me. But the big story coming out of that game was the 6-for-6 that Jalen Hurts was clean, crisp, and efficient in his very limited role in that game the other night. I think it was Friday night up there at the Meadowlands. Or no, at the Link. I'm sorry, I was at the Link. I was not there. So all the rave and the accolades going to Jalen Hurts for a great 6-for-6 preseason debut. Now, you may not know this about me, but I'm very critical of the Eagles. Probably more critical of the Eagles than I am any of the Philadelphia sports teams, because I've been violated by the Eagles more than any of the other Philadelphia sports teams. Okay, so I'm overly critical maybe of this team. I can't stand the general manager. That's not something that I pretend to hide. I hate Howie Roseman. I can't stand him. I think he's running this team into the ground. But this season, he has done something that he hasn't done ever, in my opinion. And that is he's listened to the fans seemingly and given us what we wanted in terms of linebackers and some offensive firepower to go along with the quarterback. And we are in a position, at least on paper, as we get ready to start the season, to make a definite improvement on a shoddy 21 season. Come on, everyone. Well, they were a playoff team. Come on, they weren't no playoff team. They were lucky, but now they have an opportunity in 22 with some on paper moves made to be a better legit team. So I'm excited, and I wish them all the best, and I want them to succeed. But Jalen Hurts, the ultimate question seems to keep coming back to the quarterback, and whether or not Jalen Hurts is legitimate and all that. And I think he is. I just don't think he's a franchise quarterback, and I don't think he's this franchise's quarterback. But he's serviceable, and with the draft capital that we already have kind of locked up going forward, we have a potential or an opportunity, if it doesn't work out with Jalen this year, to move up and potentially grab a franchise quarterback next season. And I honestly think we might have the franchise quarterback on this team already. No one wants to hear that, and no one wants to give me my due, and I could be off base completely, but I like Carson Strong out of the University of Nevada, the UDFA, who should have been, I don't know why he wasn't drafted, but I think he's a good quarterback, and I think before it's all said and done with, he's going to have his opportunity here. I really do. But Eagles are seemingly off and running. They had a good, strong preseason debut, and it's not about the wins and the losses and all that, at the end of the day when it comes to preseason. But they had a very interesting, strong preseason debut. On Sunday, they'll play the Browns in week 2, and then they'll wrap things up against, I think it's the Patriots, before they get ready for week 1 against the Detroit Lions on the road on September 11th, I believe. So great news coming out of Philadelphia. And we have a trade to talk about here in the city of Philadelphia. A trade that was actually, once again, got to give Howie the credit, man, because how he got anything for this guy, I don't know. But the Eagles traded J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Now, as much as that hurt me to say or to read and to be like, oh, no, JJ was pretty maligned in his time here in Philadelphia. Everything from the umbrella incidents to the fact that in 40 games that he's played in Philadelphia, he's got 16 catches for 290 yards and 1 touchdown. That's his line for 2019 for 3 seasons. And of course, the DK Metcalf similarities and the comparisons, they will ever be linked. Well, now they're linked by teams because Arcega-Whiteside was traded to the Seattle Seahawks, where, of course, DK Metcalf plays. And in return, the Eagles got Ugo Amande. He's a safety who was, I guess, slated to be cut by the Seahawks anyway. And in his career, he was drafted as well in 2019. 47 games, 125 total tackles, 102 solo tackles, no sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception for 12 yards, and a special team contributor as well. So kudos to Howie Roseman for getting a player that addresses a need, because we have safety depth issues on this team, and he's a special teamer, so we can use that way as well. And getting rid of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. So I got to give him credit, man. I got to give him the credit where the credit is due, is that Howie seems to be pressing some right buttons right now. But once again, it's all on paper at this point. We got to see whether it equates to wins and losses here coming up in September. And definitely more to follow with the Eagles as we get deeper into this thing. As we get deeper into this season with week 1 coming up here in a few weeks. And the last thing I want to leave you guys with is the Little League World Series. So Williamsport, Pennsylvania, this weekend, I believe, is the start of the 2022 Little League World Series. And it's going to have, if you've never been, take the ride out there. It's a couple hours away. Check it out. It's pretty fun. This is the first year they've really, they had one last year, but it was just U.S. teams. But the international teams are back this year. Go out there and check it out. It's fun. Root some of these kids along as they're trying to live out their dreams. And it is true that a lot of the Major League Baseball players of tomorrow are going to be at that tournament here coming up this weekend. So go out there and pay your respects to them. You might be shaking hands with a future Hall of Fame baseball player. You never know. So good luck to everybody participating in the Little League World Series starting this weekend out there in Williamsport. I'll be watching. Can't make it out there because I'll be at a baseball game this Saturday. Yeah, but I'll be watching. So, folks, let me pay some bills and let's wrap this bad boy up. Here on the Edge of Philly Sports Network, it is a growing entity. This is a kind of a now that we've kind of merged with the Painted Lions as well. We brought in Devereaux Sports a few weeks back, and now it's just a mishmash of great sports content 7 days a week, folks, and it's damn near 24/7. I don't know. I don't want to be the overnight guy, but I'll do it if it means succeeding for the network. But As you can see, this is the all of our weekly lineups. Some your favorite shows are still there. We've added some new shows to the mix as well. So just be checking out daily for all the content. There's going to be a better slide coming out, I promise. But things are coming fast and furious at EOP. Thankful and happy to be working with the Painted Lines and all the guys over at Devereaux as well as we continue to grow this thing to great heights. And of course, if you have any legal issues involving workman's comp, motor vehicle accident, personal injury, or criminal law, Dave Cherry at 610-565-0300 is the man to call. Tell him that the boys at EOP sent you. Don't forget the Tequero Lobo Mexican Kitchen over at Dolan's Bar and Grill in Ridley Park, Delco's greatest bar. Again, I've never been there. I've only been to Delco like twice, but it's pretty cool though. I've heard it's pretty cool. And some of the things they talk about on this network, like that scrapple cheesesteak sandwich they got, yeah, I gotta check that out, man. I gotta check out a sandwich that blends scrapple and cheesesteaks. Definitely gotta check that thing out. And if you don't like scrapple, I don't want to know you. So go ahead and check them out. And don't forget the OG Matty B podcast. Before I was an EOP sensation, I hosted my own podcast, which I still do host. It's available wherever you find your podcasts out there, and all the other fine stuff that's going on. Don't forget phillysportstrips.com. The trip to DC is filling up, but there's still some room, and as more people come on, they're going to continue to accommodate. So head over there, check out not only that trip, but everything else they got going on at phillysportstrips.com. Definitely good stuff going on over at phillysportstrips.com. So folks, listen, that's going to do it for me. I want to thank you. Thank you very much for spending a portion of your Tuesday night with me, kind of mixing things up. Again, the Phillies need to change their policy when it comes to retiring numbers. I don't agree with you have to be in the Hall of Fame in order to have your number retired. And Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, and Jimmy Rollins need their due, folks. The organization needs to pay the due to them individuals here soon. They've earned it 100%. And as the Eagles get things going, it's a great time of the year. We got football starting. College football starts here in a couple weeks as well. Go Penn State. And then we're going to have the Flyers, God be with me, coming back this fall as well. And then the Sixers. Big news coming out about the schedule. They're going to open up on national TV against the Celtics. And the Sixers are returning, folks, to Christmas Day against the Knicks this year up at the Garden on Christmas Day. It ain't Christmas unless the Sixers are playing on Christmas Day, and they're back this year. What about a Christmas season? I'm sure a lot of wives and girlfriends are going to dig this. You got the Eagles Cowboys on Christmas Eve, and you got the Sixers and Knicks on Christmas Day. Woohoo! It's going to be a great holiday season in the Delaware Valley. So all that stuff to look forward to, and a lot much more coming at you. Until we talk again, folks, you guys have yourselves a great rest of the night. Don't forget, come back here in a little bit as we'll be kicking off the Titans final. Until then, have a great week. And what did they say? That is the news, and I'm out of here.